I'll let you know, Dale.
Can you guys hear me still?
Yep.
Okay, because I turned my phone off in case it rings.
Okay, we are live. Go for it, Dale.
Hi, I'm Dale Winslow. I pastor the Foothill Community Church in Azusa, California. I'm always interested in stories, the stories people tell. It's one thing to hear theory and theology and philosophy, but to me, the stories of people who are actually in the trenches, have been hurting, have experienced loss. I love hearing what they have to say about life. One of my friends, someone that's been part of our church since, well, before I came to pastor here, Yolanda Castro, went down with COVID-19 and spent a good deal of time in the hospital and has recovered. And when she and I have talked a few times since she's gotten back home, and she's got some powerful stuff to say to us. And I thought it would be good for us to live stream this today. We're going to be recording it and keeping it in our on our page at our church. But I wanted you to hear from her in more of an interview style. It's one thing to hear news and hear sound bites. I prefer hearing the story in longer than sound bites. So that's why we're doing this together, Yolanda. Hi, Yolanda. It's good to see you.
Hi, Dale.
You're at home there. It's good to see you.
Yes, I'm home.
Last
Home
time I saw you-
recuperating.
Yeah. Last time I saw you, you were sitting out in front of your house, and the whole city of Azusa was streaming by, led by a police car with lights going off, and everybody greeting you. You'd just gotten out of the hospital, so.
Yes, it was a great welcome home parade.
Yeah. So we're live streaming 4:30 on Monday afternoon, the 27th. Tell us, give us the specifics, first of all. When did you go in to the hospital? How long were you there? When did you come home? Can we start there?
Okay, sure. At the end of the last week of March, I started getting sick. And at first it felt like I was catching the flu, headache, achy body, never a temperature though. I was just not feeling good. Then I started losing my taste buds. I couldn't taste any food and starting to have a hard time breathing. So April 5th, Sunday morning, which was Palm Sunday,
Hosanna.
I woke up and told Henry, I think you better take me to the hospital because I don't think I can do this on my own. And I'm finding it harder and harder to breathe.
Wow.
So he took me to the hospital, and I figured, we had three doctors trying to get me tested, and I couldn't get tested because I didn't have all the symptoms. So I figured, well, you take me to ER and either they'll send me home or they'll test me and keep me. So he decided to take me to Huntington Hospital, and they admitted me.
Wow.
They told him to go home. There was nothing he could do. He couldn't come in with me. And the last thing I remember was a doctor telling me that they were going to ventilate me. And then I don't remember anything else. So I slept for a week.
A week?
A whole week. The best sleep I've had in a long time. And apparently I was sedated that entire week. I was on a ventilator, and they were trying to find the best solution to help me fight this.
Yeah.
They were communicating with my family, but my family could never come in.
Right.
So, and Saturday morning, they tried to see if I could breathe on my own, and I wasn't quite getting there. So it was Sunday morning when, which was Easter Sunday. And that's when I was able to breathe on my own. And the first thing I remember is waking up, and they said they were going to take me off the ventilator and get me ready to FaceTime my family because they were anxious to see me.
Yeah.
So that's when the ventilator came off. I started breathing on my own. Got to talk to my family on Easter Sunday. Then the next day they put me into my own room to recuperate, and I was finally released from the hospital on April 18th.
Wow.
And I've been home for a week. I'm so excited.
Been home for a week.
Yeah.
And you're isolating, what, they ask you to isolate for a couple
For
weeks?
2 weeks, for 2 weeks. So one more week, and then I can start to get closer to family members. I'm even trying to isolate myself from family. So it's
Yeah.
kind of self-contained. Rachel also, my daughter, caught it, but hers was more like a stomach flu.
Uh-huh.
And Henry tested negative. He's never had any impact. So
Wow. Wow. Amazing.
yeah.
Well, let's get to the stories. You said people have asked you, how was it? And you said, I don't know. I was asleep the whole time. So that's your story, but there's all kinds of other stories that were going on. Let's start with your family, your two daughters and Henry. How did this affect them, and what did you hear
Yeah.
from them?
So like I said, I slept. I didn't feel any pain. I didn't feel anything. And when I woke up, it was like just thinking about, all right, so what's the next thing? So go in my room and get better and get stronger. And so it was never a fear for me.
Wow.
Will I get, am I going to live? Am I not going to live? What's going to happen?
Wow.
That was not, it was just about getting better and coming home. But as I woke up and I started to talk to family members, I started to realize the real pain and what Henry and the girls are going through.
Yeah.
Starting with Henry.
Yeah.
Henry has always been, when we first met, about 6 months, a year after we met, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. And Henry was the person who helped us manipulate the hospital, not manipulate, but get through the hospital and talk to the doctors. And
Sure.
because we weren't comfortable with that environment, he was very comfortable because he works in a hospital. So, and since then, he's always kind of been the rock who gets us through the hospital stuff. He knows how to deal with that. He can manipulate any hospital. He works in them all the time. He's comfortable talking to doctors, asking the right questions. So when he had to drop me off and they said, you can wait in your car for a phone call, or you could go home and wait for the phone call. He was lost. He didn't know what to do because he's always been the one who took care of everything.
Yeah.
So he drove home in total desperation. It's like, did I leave her there to die alone? What's going to happen? We're so thankful for our church family because they know when to reach out. And on the way home, James Crawford happened to call him just to see what was going on.
Wow.
And James became his emotional support that first day. Henry, told him that, he didn't know what to do. And James said, I'll be right over.
Wow.
He came over.
Wow.
And he sat with him. And I can't tell you what their conversation was about, but I know that he was there to give him that emotional support.
Wow.
So all week it was just dealing with the doctors and making decisions over the phone, not knowing how I was, couldn't see me.
Yeah.
So it was, and we also realized we got to get a lot of things in order because if anything like this happens again, there's things that we need to have taken care of.
Yeah.
So I cried because it just hurt me so much to think about the agony that they went through.
Right.
Rachel shared that it was that she had, she was being really strong, and one night she just broke down because she realized I should have hugged her more when I saw her. When I saw her walking out to go to the hospital, I should have hugged her more. Who's going to take care of this for me? And who's going to take care of that for me? And then she lost it. And, Brianna felt the same way. It's like a 50-50 chance that she could live or die. Wait a minute, I'm not ready for this. I want her to be around for my children. So there was a lot of agony, but also during that time, they realized how much support they have.
Yeah.
And that they'll never be alone. Because, the first thing Rachel and Brianna said to me was, wow, Mom, do you realize how many people care about you and how many people are praying for you? And I said, I don't know how many people, but we were born into a strong family and we became part of a Christian family. And that's why we do that.
Yeah.
We do that so that we have support and we can be loved and we can support others. So this is why it's important to be part of a church or part of a family that can, be there for you. So I know that if God were to decide to take me home, they realize that he put strong people in their lives to support them and help them, because they felt very supported and by friends and family and our church family. It was amazing. So it was a real journey for them, and that was very difficult.
Someone mentioned about preparation, and they said you don't wait for it to rain before you get shingles on your roof. And
Exactly.
one of the things and you're just pointing it out, is the need to have a lot of your ducks in a row before bad stuff happens, so that when it does, you have the asset, the resources, like you're saying, you've got family, you've got friends, support. So when the bottom fell out there for a few days, there was James Crawford and there was others gathering around.
Yes.
Let's not wait for that. That's phenomenal. So 2 daughters and Henry, extended family. You have some stories about any of them?
Well, my brother and my sisters, and they were suffering just as much.
Yeah.
Because I'm second to the youngest, and it's like, wait a minute, why are you taking her first? And my nieces and nephews, I'm kind of, I took over my mom's house after she left. And this has kind of been the cornerstone for all, the anchor for all the family. We get together. We're a big family. So, and my youngest brother, Sam, he's only 11 months younger than I am. And we've been connected at the hip since he was born. I mean, we've been together. And even though, I don't see him all the time, but we're very connected. So when I first woke up, he was one of the first ones that I thought about. And my sister in Texas, they were in real pain because they couldn't understand. But I shared with you, I'm not sure God was doing work here. He used me, but I didn't even know the work that he was doing until when I woke up and I was in my room and I started talking to people. I started hearing their stories. And, my sister in Texas said, I was ready to lose my faith if God took you, because I wouldn't be able to understand. But she developed a close Christian group in Texas.
Wow.
And they embraced her.
Wow.
And kept her strong.
Wow.
My brother Sam has always had a strong faith, but he doesn't really go to church anywhere. But one night he went to bed struggling with God and saying, why her? I don't understand. She has daughters. She's been faithful. Why are you taking her? And he was really angry. And when he woke up in the morning, he said he just got a sense of a vision of a shield of armor and a sword. And so when I talked to him, he says, Yoli, he says, when I saw that, I had a sense of peace. And he says, you're a general in God's army and you're building an army. And I said, no, I'm not a general. I'm just part of the army. And he says, no, you're going to be a general and help him build his army.
Wow.
And that kind of, that kind of stayed with me. And I thought, okay, well, whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, as I talked to people that had been Christians all their life, people who led me to Foothill, who embraced me, they said that during that Holy Week, it really brought them down to their knees,
Wow.
and it reminded them what Holy Week was about, and what they really should be focused on.
Wow.
I've had people say, "This is bringing me back to church."
Wow.
Um, I've had people say, "I want to know more about God. Do you know where I can get a Bible?"
Wow.
So I think, it's been interesting to hear their stories. I keep saying, this is not my story. This is everybody else's story.
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
just used me to
Yeah.
test their faith or build their faith.
Yeah. Well, you've always been, you're one of those key people, point people. Ever since I've been here, people gather around you, family, the church. You have been a kind of an anchor person. A lot of coming and going, ups and downs, but you've provided, sort of been a steady, still point in a lot of people's turning worlds. And when you got hit, I can see, I get why people are saying, "Wait a minute." Um, can you tell us about Alana? Can you tell that story?
Yeah.
This is a great story.
Alana is, I think she's in fourth grade, maybe fifth. Um, she hasn't grown up going to church. If she went to church, it's because we took her with us. So the church that
What is she? What's your relative? How are you related?
she's my niece's daughter.
Okay, yeah, good.
Okay. So if we could take them to church with us every once in a while, we take them on Easter or
Yeah.
so they've been to a couple of the classes. So I guess the church, Debbie Crawford coordinated a Zoom prayer session, and Alana prayed out loud in that session, and I think brought several people to tears.
Yeah.
And my niece told me, I'm sorry if I lost you there. Are you still there?
Now
Okay.
you're back. Good.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm on my iPhone, so it keeps.
Uh-oh.
So it was my daughter Brianna said, "Mom, I was holding it together really well until Alana started praying, just the way that she prayed." And I wish I could hear that because I haven't heard it. But what's so unique about this story is that she's bringing her mom closer to God.
Wow.
And making her, my niece, her mother told me it wasn't just that night that she prayed. She prayed every night. And she said, I would be so tired and I'd want to go to bed. And she'd get my hand. She says, "No, mommy, we're going to pray." And she'd bring me to my knees to pray with her.
Wow.
So, and she's motivated her mom to want to go back to church. And like I said, she called me and asked if I could recommend a Bible for her and her daughter.
Wow.
So, it's God was using this time to really work on these people.
Yeah.
I think I told you, Dale, that really became clear to me because on the morning of the 18th, probably about 1:30 in the morning, I woke up and I couldn't go back to bed. I was still in the hospital. And I tried to sleep, couldn't sleep. So I decided to get up, go to the restroom. And when I went back to the bed, there was a big chair by the window pane. And I decided, I'll just sit in the chair for a while. Maybe I'll, get sleepy. So I sat in the chair and I felt like I got pulled to look at the Facebook that my daughters had created called Hope for Yolanda. It was to keep people updated. So I started going to the Facebook and I read between 1:30 in the morning and 3 in the morning. I read every prayer that was posted.
Wow.
I listened to every song. I read every passage that was prayed. I went through that entire Facebook. And when I was done, I just felt like God was telling me, these are my warriors who prayed for you.
Wow.
But our work isn't done yet.
Yeah.
And you need to be faithful and continue to move this forward. That's what I was feeling. So then my brother's image made more sense to me.
Yeah.
So I went to bed and I knocked out and I woke up to the nurse wanting to do an x-ray. and I had breakfast, and the doctor called me. Now, all week they had been saying, I had been asking, when do I get to go home? When do I get to go home? And they said, we're going to evaluate you. And I said, well, maybe this weekend. They said, everybody, no, after the weekend's over, after the weekend's over. I said, okay. So the doctor calls me and asks how I'm doing. And I said, I'm doing fine. And I said, just getting tired of the color on the walls. And he said, well, we could do something about that. We're going to send you home today. And I felt like God wasn't going to let me go home till I got through that Facebook and I really understood what
Wow.
his work was. And I like, okay, because I was going home. I even told the doctor, well, maybe I should go home tomorrow. And he said, no, you're
Yeah.
going home today. We'll
Yeah.
just make it later in the day. And it was amazing because, that's not what I had heard from all the doctors. And so all of a sudden I get to go home,
Yeah.
but it was clear. So when I came home, we changed the Facebook name and now it's called God's Praying Warriors Against COVID-19.
Wow.
And I'm putting pieces of my story there. And I'm even with each story, there's a topic to pray for. So the first topic was to use the Facebook page to put other people who are fighting COVID-19. Let's pray for them.
Wow.
The second story was about the healthcare providers because they are really struggling and it's a tough job.
Yeah.
So to pray for them.
Yeah.
And my more recent story was about praying for the family because it's really the family who sits on the sidelines,
Yeah.
who love you and care for you and can do nothing
Can't
but
do
sit on the sidelines.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what's the name of that? If people wanted to dial into that, what's it
It's
called?
called God's Praying Warriors
Okay.
Against COVID-19.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Fantastic. So I didn't tell you, I might ask you this question.
Okay.
If your work isn't done yet, and I to be honest, there's sometimes when I pray for things, I think, okay, I'm not sure. But when I was praying for you, I thought that's the same thing. You have more to do yet. What sense do you have of what that might be? I mean, it's been quick.
Yeah.
You haven't given a lot of time to think about it, but
Well, I think there was the work around the Facebook and the fight against COVID-19 and really using that and
yeah.
encouraging people to keep praying.
Yeah.
This is a terrible disease.
Oh,
Whether you go into the hospital or not, it's a terrible disease and it doesn't treat everybody equally.
yeah.
Everybody's, it's different for every person. Some people like Rachel, it's like a bad flu and she can work through it.
Right. Right.
Henry lives with us and didn't even catch it. He
Yeah.
turned out negative, and I ended up in the hospital. 4 of us at work got hit at the same time. 2 of us ended up in the hospital. 2 worked through it,
Yeah.
worked through it on their own. So it's, and there's, they're still working to find solutions, to understand it, to find. So I've told the hospital anything I can do. If I can donate my blood, if I can share anything about what I experienced to help find a solution, please use me.
Wow.
I will do that. At work, you're obligated to tell the staff that somebody was contracted with the virus, but you're not obligated to tell the name. So people know, but they don't know who. I've chosen to put it out there. I'm an open book. I've told my staff.
That's your style.
I want them to ask questions. Because people are living in fear.
Right.
Good reason. You need to live in fear. You got to be cautious.
Yeah.
But this is having so much more of an impact, not just on our health, but on our economy.
Right.
I think on people's mental health.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's, we just need to keep praying about the different things that are being attacked and we can't shut her down in fear, because I think that's when Satan comes in,
Right.
when we're afraid. And I just trying to encourage people, ask me questions, tell me what you want to know. I'll share my experience with you. And the other employee that went in the hospital, she wanted to do the same thing. She says, no, Yolanda, put my name out there. I want people to know.
Sure.
So it's about, for now, I think it's about fighting against this disease and just encouraging people to pray and encouraging people to focus in on things that we need to be paying attention to.
Good. So you're open to be a resource person, connect with you on Facebook or call you or email you,
Yes.
and you'd be happy to
Yes.
give counsel out of your own experience, which to me just a warrant.
Yes. I'm not an expert. I can
No.
only share my experience and
Right.
what I've seen and what I felt. Like when Thursday before I went into the hospital, I knew I was having a hard time breathing. And I told Henry, I don't want to go to the hospital and die alone,
Right.
because I had been seeing all this stuff on TV about New
Right.
York and how
Yeah.
awful it was. But when I went to the hospital, New York wasn't my experience.
Yeah.
It was a totally different experience. Yes, the doctors and the nurses are working hard, but it wasn't like New York. I had a totally different experience. So I think we see what's on TV and we think that's the truth. And
Yeah.
there are other realities, and we're making progress. I think the medical system is making progress. I don't think they're there yet, but they're getting closer. And anything we
Yeah.
could do, I think it's important for people
Yeah.
to know. And people aren't going to the hospital because they're afraid.
Right.
People, I heard the other day, I heard people are having strokes or heart attacks or getting sick, and they're afraid to go to ER because they think they're going to catch COVID-19. So they're
Right.
not getting the care they need.
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah, we're right to be afraid, but it's
Yeah.
the fear is paralyzing us.
Right. One of the things we're talking about as a church is, okay, this whole reopening thing. How fast? When do you reopen? And they're talking about, you can meet in groups of 10 and then maybe groups of 50 and kind of ease into it. I think you need to be a resource person for us as a local church to give wisdom into this situation as well. And so we're going to be calling you.
You can. I mean, and I'll share from my whatever.
Yeah.
Like I said, I want to be an open book.
Yeah.
Full disclosure,
Good.
I want to share what my reality was, and if it could help make a difference anywhere,
Yeah.
then that's just being obedient to what I believe God's called me to do.
Yeah. So you're going back to work. You already have started back?
This week I started at 20 hours, just kind of easing my way back in.
Okay.
The doctor said, let your energy guide you.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing. We'll
Yeah.
see. I don't plan to go into the office till the week of May 18th.
Okay.
And I'll just go in, we're rotating because again, we're practicing 10 or less people per section. So
Yeah.
we're rotating.
Yeah. Okay. You got to tell us about Telemundo now. Can you do that? What they came in and did a deep cleaning of your home?
Well, yeah. So, my
Not
my
Telemundo.
church.
Telemundo didn't do the deep cleaning.
No,
Somebody
they
else.
didn't. They did the interview. So, of course, my church family, Stacy and Susan and, Tina Brownell and Debbie and Rhonda and Diana, they all were gathering around, what could we do? We don't want Yolanda to come to a home if there's still infection in there. She's going to be coming out. So they were thinking about coming in and cleaning and disinfecting for me. Henry was trying to do it, but, he couldn't keep up with everything. And so they found this company that will come in and clean your home if you've been hit by COVID-19, and they do it at no cost.
Wow.
They're called Pink Sponges. They're a company out of Glendora.
Pink Sponges.
Pink Sponges. So they came out, they disinfected the house. They used an ultralight to kill any infection.
Yeah.
So I came home to a fresh, clean home. It was fresh and clean and not worried about, okay, Henry, did you clean this right? Did you do this right? So they called me and asked if they could interview me so they could put it on their GoFundMe page because they're looking for funds so they can continue doing this for free.
Yeah.
And so I said, sure, absolutely. If you want to interview me, I'm happy to do that. So we set up an interview for Friday. Well, I guess they had sent out press releases to promote their company, and Telemundo saw the press release and asked if they could interview them and if they knew somebody whose house they had cleaned. They said, well, we just happened to have an interview for Friday. So they set up the interview, and Telemundo, it came out on Sunday night at 6:00 on the Spanish station. I have the link, the video. I'll send it your way so you can see it if you understand Spanish. But yeah, so I'm becoming a novela movie star.
Hey, don't forget me when you
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
No, never.
So
You are my pastor. No, will never be forgotten.
as long as we get 10% of whatever you get, that's all
Yes.
we're interested in.
Okay. Okay. That's fair enough.
So if anybody wants to help in this season, pink sponges out of Glendora, right?
Right.
Either they
Mhm.
could Google it or pick it up
Yeah.
somewhere, and that
Yeah.
would be a real down to earth way to get involved. Perfect. Perfect.
And help, help somebody
Yeah.
who's been hit by the COVID-19 and needs to have their home disinfected.
Yeah.
It's a great service and they're great people.
Yeah.
And so I'm planning to put their GoFundMe page on our COVID-19 Facebook so people can see that.
Good. There's a lot of people that want to help, and we're doing things as a church, food, helping people that are distributing food and whatnot. And but this is the kind of thing I think we need to get out there. And if you have other places, legit places that could use help, financial or whatever. One of the things I'm interested in is you talked about people not going into the hospitals because of heart attacks and strokes and whatnot. There's a lot of need for counseling as well, and
Yeah.
the whole mental health thing.
Right.
We want to be focused on that as well. So
yeah, and one of the things that's heavy on my heart is really the mental health of our kids. They don't understand why they had to be pulled out of school, or they're missing their graduation, or their prom. And the Alanas, we got to keep the children in our prayer.
Yeah.
And help them, because some of them, their lifetime, they've experienced 9/11 and they're experiencing this and active shooters. And you have to wonder, what are the fears that are going to develop? Some of them are becoming paralyzed. They're so afraid to touch anything or go, even after they release this, so what do we do for our children to really help them through this process is something that's been on my heart too.
Yeah. Well, as we're talking about reopening, we have a lot of children in our church community.
Yeah.
What are you going to say to them? Okay, you can go out in the playground, but you have to stay 6 feet apart. I mean, that's not going to work. So
exactly. Some of our adults aren't understanding that. They were packed at the beach this weekend. So, Yeah. And kids, how do you get them to understand the importance of all of this? So
Wow. Well, do you have any final word of wisdom here?
Well, Brianna shared something with me this morning. She said, Mom, I have to share this with you. She has a whiteboard in her room where she plans her meals for the week or something that she needs to remember. Well, before this whole thing started with me going to the hospital, she had put a passage, a Bible verse on the whiteboard, and it said, God can restore what is broken and change it into something amazing. All you need is faith. And it's from Joel 2:25. And she forgot about that. So then, then I went into the hospital and all this stuff happened. And today she went into the room and she started cleaning and she looked at it and she said, she remembered putting up that. And she said, why did I forget about that? Wow. And when she thinks about what they experienced, she said, she said, we had to maintain our faith. We had to believe and we had to trust that God was going to change it.
Yeah.
So I think we have to maintain our faith.
Yeah.
And we have to be ready for how God is going to change things.
Right.
This safe at home, and we don't like being at home. We don't like being self-contained. But how is it changing us? We're going to be different when we return to work is different. Things are going to be different.
Yeah.
Let's look at how it's changing us. I think that's important to really look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are my parting words.
Yeah, we're not going to be going back to the way it was. We're going to something new and totally different. And we have to change our language, our anticipation of what's going to be coming up the road. Yeah.
And hopefully we'll see what the good of all this,
Yeah.
It was difficult for my family, but I saw my children mature in a way that was very different from what they were before I left. And we learned a lot from this journey. And so I think we're going to learn a lot from this experience.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. My hope is that what we are experiencing won't be lost, that we'll bring some of these new ways of doing life, new ways of doing life with God forward. And for me and for Karen, just maybe some of the rush and the hurry up and get on the road so you can get to work. as opposed to maybe long walks together and leisurely coffee in the morning. Maybe fewer meetings, maybe more, maybe more Zoom.
Yeah, let's travel.
As much as some of us have Zoom fatigue, it's you don't need to be racing around so much, maybe. So
Right.
well, you are a delight. I remember again when we were praying about our school, we had early morning prayer meetings, and back in 2008, 2009, God spoke to you and said, want you to be the school administrator. And you took it on for, I don't know, a couple of years, 3 years, maybe, pro bono.
Yeah.
And I just grew to love you and appreciate your depth, your humility, and the way you're able to work graciously and wisely, wisdom. And I really cherish that. And the thing that impressed me the most is you heard from God and you obeyed. That's what you do. And you're doing it now too. And I know that as God continues to work with you and your family, you're gonna stay on that trajectory. So I'm glad I get to do kingdom work with people like you. It makes this job I have so much fun. So.
Well, and I've always appreciated your support and willingness to walk alongside me and help me understand what was going on. Because I don't always say yes right away because I'm thinking, no, that can't be God. That's just in my head. Yeah, learning every day.
Well, we're going to be thinking more about some of these things and talking more. Maybe we'll do another interview next week. Thanks so much. Thanks for doing
You're
this,
welcome.
for being an open book and making yourself available. I think that's phenomenal. So
yeah, and I thank everybody at FCC who reached out and prayed and just embraced my family.
Yeah.
We were so blessed in so many ways. Yes, it's been wonderful. So just a great big thank you to everybody out there who supported us and prayed for us.
All right. Well, God be with you and your husband and your 2 daughters. And it's been a delight.
Thank you, Doug.
Yeah. God be with you.
All right.
Okay. We'll wind this down and sign off here. Bless you.
Thank you.